Okay, we are streaming on YouTube. I'm going to hit record.
Let me know when we can announce.
And I'm going to disappear now.
Good evening. Community and Economic Development Committee meeting will be called to order. It is 6 p.m. The clerk will call the roll.
Chairwoman Harris,
Present.
Councilor Darcy.
Present.
Durkee? Councilor Durkee?
Present.
Sorry if I didn't hear you. Councilor LaCava?
Present.
Councilor Paz? Councilor Paz?
Present.
Okay, Chair, you have a quorum. I'm just going to close my door.
Great. No problem. When Kara comes back, we'll have her read the first matter. Good evening, everybody.
The first matter is approval of minutes, and I have to apologize. I did them at home and I never sent them out to you guys. So I will have those both this week and last week for our next meeting.
We'll bypass that part of the agenda, let everybody be able to read them, and then we'll approve 2 weeks worth of minutes back to back at the next meeting.
Okay.
Can you read the next matter on the agenda, please?
Next matter is providing public Wi-Fi in Waltham resolution. And this was submitted by Councilor Paz, Councilor Darcy, and Councilor LeBlanc. And the be it resolved states that the City Council investigate providing public Wi-Fi access throughout the city of Waltham.
Councilor Paz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would appreciate if we could hear from a few folks off committee. One would be a request to have a written report from the IT department from Mr. O'Coin. A second one would be to have.
Councilor Paz? Let's take these one at a time because none of those people are here tonight. So what you're requesting, just for context for people following that may not have watched last week, you put forth a resolution to investigate public Wi-Fi citywide, had several councilors sign on. So in committee, what we're doing here is having discussions around that resolution, and you're requesting additional off-committee members to come in at a following meeting. Is it your wish that that would happen in 2 weeks? Because I think we should clearly state that for the request.
Yeah, I just thank you so much, Madam Chair. Yes, this is an absolutely important and urgent matter that we can look into for a short and long-term approach. I think I would want to invite 2 people, and then I would request to have some kind of written testimony to the committee, just to be careful with our time. We have 1 hour next in 2 weeks. So I would move to request to have a representative from the town of Charlemont. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they're the first town in Massachusetts that has been able to implement and distribute fiber optic system in their town. So they have a broadband committee. I would move to invite them to speak to what they've been able to accomplish in their town. Their broadband, maybe a representative for the broadband committee.
One at a time, one at a time. So let's do these requests one at a time, and we'll slow it down just a little bit. I know you're excited about this. So is it Charlton? I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow exactly. Is it the town of Charlton?
Charlemont.
Charlemont.
Charlemont. Okay. Okay. So Councilor Paz, what might be wise is that you request, maybe in writing what they've done, maybe request guidance from their committees. I don't know if another municipality can join us like this. So what might be more wise is that we ask for their written materials and their processes, and then we could look at that in committee and further refine our questions and then ask for them to come in. Are you okay with asking, for written responses? I mean, we are in the middle of COVID, and I think it's one thing to ask our department heads to come in, but I think other towns are going to be a little bit hard pressed to join. I think what might be more sensitive is to request the written materials that would get you the information that you seek, which is how did they set up their committee? How did they roll out citywide Wi-Fi, costs, something structured like that.
Yeah, written.
Would you?
I mean, I just think having a member from the broadband committee,
Okay,
just one member, I think of their broadband committee, I think that could be a reasonable request to have them participate.
okay, so Councilor Paz makes a request. Are these all in writing already, or are you formulating these as we talk and you're going to type them up after?
I
Counselor?
have them written down. I can follow up after the committee.
Okay. Councilor Paz makes a request to hear from the Broadband Committee of the Town of Charlemont to attend a future community and economic development meeting to discuss and answer questions about their rollout of city Wi-Fi. Is that correct, Councilor Paz?
Yes, Madam Chair.
You've heard the sense of the request. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. That's request number 1, which you'll need to submit in writing to the clerk. Copy me. What's your next request, Councilor Paz?
Would appreciate to hear, with public Wi-Fi, there's a lot of technological know-how that we need to catch up on. There's a group, very energetic group called Mass Mesh, and they have been pretty successful in developing wireless community-owned networks. They have been pretty successful across the Commonwealth, and I'd appreciate if they can join us and present some of their work. I think they could actually help us understand how this could actually reduce costs and actually increase speed of broadband connectivity. So, and they have been pretty successful across the Commonwealth. I think we would benefit from hearing from them. So I would request to have them.
Councilor Paz. Okay, so Councilor Paz, let's clarify the request. So Mass Mesh, have you contacted them, and do you have a contact there that you would want to bring in?
No, but they have their contact information, and they're pretty accessible online. So
Okay, so you make a request for a member of Mass Mesh to attend an upcoming, whatever one they can attend given their schedules, an upcoming community and economic development to share their knowledge and information of rolling out public Wi-Fi. Is that correct?
yes.
You've all heard the sense of the request. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. 1 second, I just want to make sure, Clerk Wilson, you have both those requests, right?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, just want to make sure. And then immediately following this, Councilor Paz, let's make sure we get those in writing. Okay, your next request, Councilor.
I have 3 last requests, but these are only in written reports. Just written.
Let's take them one
reports.
at a time.
Yep,
Let's do them
just
one at
one
a time, okay?
So we're not taking up too many people, so we're not overloading our next meeting is what I'm trying to say. To have a written report from the IT department of the city of Waltham. Just
So
what
let's refine let's refine that. So written report for what specifically?
to let us understand the city's broadband capacities and other previous efforts that we've had to provide Wi-Fi.
Okay, so Councilor Paz makes a request, make sure we get the names right, for IT Director Donald Aucoin to come in and discuss future, past and present broadband capacity, capability, and planning. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right, you've heard the sense of the request. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Your next request.
Would appreciate a written report from the IT department of the school department, Susanna Summers, to update us on work on the school department side in terms of broadband capacities and helping bridge the technological divide.
You've all heard a sense of the request. All
On
those in
that,
favor?
on that request,
On the request, Councilor LaCava.
excuse me. I just want to make sure, does she have to answer to us, or does that department? Not saying she won't, I'm curious of the dynamic of of us asking of certain departments of the school committee, of the school department, excuse me.
If I may, through you, Madam Chair, answer, I have inquired in the past, so I think it would be a natural follow-up. We've been in communication about helping them acquire more hotspots, so it would just be appreciated just so then the city council knows, and we're not like working at the same issue in vacuums. You know, it's really more of a follow-up, I think, to the conversation.
Works for me.
So you're just having her in just to clarify the request, and can you state this, just to have her in for follow-up to your prior conversations? Because if that's truly the intent, then that should be stated in the request. So could you, Councilor Paz, just restate? Because it sounds like you've had prior conversations, so let's talk about it in that context so that it's clear. Could you restate the request, please?
Yeah, I would request to have a written report on updates on broadband issues of the school department from Susanna Summers.
You've all heard the sense of that updated request. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. Councilor Paz.
And the last would be to hear from Mike Barnett, who's a professor, I believe, at Boston College. Just a written report on what he has. I can see the eyes of the Ward 5 counselor. He has in the past proposed to, he has requested and applied for a grant from the National Science Foundation. So yeah, just to hear from him and learn about what research he's done and what this could potentially look like in this city. So I think we could benefit to hear from him. So I'd appreciate a written report. So my request would be to have a written report from Mike Barnett and his work in providing Wi-Fi in the municipal context.
So just to clarify, you're just looking for a written update from Mike Barnett, not to have him attend the meeting, just to get that information at least to the committee, and then we can formulate our questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so Councilor Paz makes a request to Mike Barnett to provide his written strategy, vision, and information on how to roll Wi-Fi out to municipalities. And that will be provided to committee for review. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Chairwoman, sorry.
Yes, Clerk
Chair.
Wilson.
Aye.
Can you just, let's just make sure in these requests and all these written requests that I have these people's full
Name and contact info.
title, their email, their phone number.
Absolutely. So to the point, we're right now in the middle of a vote, but we'll pause that just for a second. In tonight's written request, Councilor Paz, because everything's available on websites, your legwork in the request is to provide each person's name, contact info, and email to the clerk for ease in communication. Are you comfortable with that? And then we'll make this request.
Absolutely. More than happy to.
Okay, so Clerk Wilson, before we move forward on this vote, is there anything else you require?
No, thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, no, I'm glad you spoke up. Thank you. Okay, back to Mike Barnett. Councilor Paz makes a request to have Mike Barnett provide his latest written report on municipal Wi-Fi to this committee for review. He does not need to attend in person. This will just be a written report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Paz, is there anything else?
That'll be it for me, Madam Chair. I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilor Paz. Clerk Wilson, is there another matter on our docket?
Yes, so is this tabled? Did someone table it?
Actually, could I?
Councilor Paz
say one
goes
more?
to make a motion. Councilor Paz makes a motion to place the matter on the table. All those in favor?
Madam Chair, I believe Councilor Darcy had something to request.
Oh, I apologize. There's a lot of background noise, so I think maybe going on mute if you're not talking would be helpful. Councilor Darcy.
I'd just like to thank Councilor Paz for assembling a list of people that are experts in the field that will be able to help us chart our course to some form of public Wi-Fi to the residents of Waltham. Certainly be wonderful to get the Common, the Carter Street substation area, Moody Street, South Junior, the former South Junior, 510 Moody, and the Arthur Clark Government Center, all wired up to benefit the residents of Waltham. So I'm looking forward to speaking with these people that have been invited in next week or in 2 weeks' time. That's all I have. And I move to table
Thank you.
the matter.
Thank you, Councilor Darcy. Councilor Darcy makes a motion to place the matter on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk Wilson will read the next matter.
Okay, the next matter is a mental health resolution submitted by Councilor Durkee, Councilor LeBlanc, Councilor McMenamin, Councilor Mackin, and Councilor McLaughlin. The be it resolved reads that the Waltham City Council begin a dialogue on the impact of mental illness on the City of Waltham residents, with a goal towards bettering awareness and researching solutions that best address residential mental health needs.
Thank you, Clerk Wilson. Councilor Durkee.
Thank you, Chair. As I look more into this issue, I want to repeat or remind people that mental health issues, it covers a very wide swath of matters. Again, I said last week that it can go from anxiety and depression and go the whole spectrum of mental illnesses. But I also wanted to remind people that in addition to the mental illness part, there's also an issue of support. So it's not just a matter of someone seeing a doctor, but if say an elderly person has an issue, if they can't get out of their house to get food, then support is just a factor to consider. So I just would like to read off some keys that I think that are important in this discussion. What we're trying to do is promote awareness and provide solutions. So if we can provide solutions, one item is to make sure we deliver the services to where people are at. So the best solution would be to provide a service on site. But if we can't, technology is a huge answer or solvable problem for many of these issues, for like services and for connections. So for example, if you were to provide, say, an iPad for someone in housing, they may be able to not only connect and get services, like say someone's a shut-in, they could get services from a doctor, but they might also be able to communicate with others and say grocery deliveries or issues like that. So technology can go a far way. I talked about support services. People need help with daily living requirements. So I would like to point out that it's not just the health issue, it's also the daily living circumstances that we need to be concerned with. One of the issues that has been brought to my attention specifically is the self-isolation of the elderly. Many of our residents in housing are elderly and or disabled. So I just want to make people aware of that. When I spoke of mental health issues, it does cover a wide area, and I should say this a little better, but I part of the point behind this resolution is that I feel with the economic downturn that's expected, that people are talking about, then in the next couple of years, I believe people who don't normally or wouldn't normally turn to a healthcare provider or service support provider, I believe we may have a lot more people calling and asking for services. And I'm trying to make sure we are ahead of the curve and not behind it. I guess one last thing is that when we do, if part of the awareness portion is sharing information, we should consider that the information we share is in accessible formats. And what I mean by that is if we have something on, say a city website, that someone can view information in sign language, maybe we have public captioning on videos, braille, text, e-publications. I'm just saying this that we should include everyone. But that's essentially the intent of where we're going with that. And I would like to, I did not do this formally. I put in a request with my resolution. I did not I did not officially send out questions. So I would like to ask if any members of the committee, with your approval, if they have specific questions for the Director of Public Health and the Chair of the Disabilities Commission for further clarification on what services we may be able to provide or what solutions we may be able to provide for people and how
Councilor
to
Durkee,
improve awareness. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think you need to make that, since you have the floor, you need to make that in the form of a request to bring in those folks to answer specific questions, and we'll vote on each request, and that's how we can get individual committee input into each one of these. So who do you want to bring in first? And then we can see, you can make a motion or make a request to bring in that person, and then on that, other people can speak, and that's how you can
Okay.
solicit feedback.
Thank you.
Using the process, because we got to use the process. So let's make the request of the first person you want to bring in and why, and then I'll speak to the committee.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank
I
you.
would like, just because of the nature of what's going on with coronavirus, my preference really is to have people provide answers in writing. Just because I'm
Okay.
sure that the Director of Public Health and the Disabilities Chair are probably a lot more busy than normal. So my first
Mhm.
request would be to ask Michelle Feely for Director of Public Health for a written response to our questions.
Okay, so what are our questions? Let's just get those on the table, and then we'll put the two pieces together in the form of a request. So what are our questions?
Okay, so some of the questions I had are on. Darn it! Give me a second. I have my questions on
No
my
problem. Take your time.
computer.
Nope, take your time. Take your time. We have it.
With that. Okay. So one question is, do our residents, and I specifically do low income or elderly residents, have a city contact to provide a sort of triage for a combination of mental health and or social services?
Okay, so Councilor Durkee makes a request to Health Department Head Michelle Feely to answer these written questions, which you're going to read. Is that the only question you have for her, or is there a list?
Well, I have a couple. Basically, just a follow up to that particular question. If
Councilor Durkee?
yes,
Just for process, right? If you'll read all the questions out loud that you have, then we can tie it to a request. You'll cut and paste your questions that you stated for the record in committee into a form of a written request, and that'll go off through Clerk Wilson. to Michelle Feely, even if you've had prior conversations. At least she'll get one request of this committee, and then she can reply back in writing. Okay, so
Understood.
let's read through all the questions, and then we'll formulate this in the form of request to the
Okay.
department head for the health department. Thank you.
Got it. The other, I have two more questions. One's just a follow-up to the first one, so we had the request, is there a number to contact? If there is a number, I'm sorry, if there is not a number, do we have a need for a triage or referral service, as in a 1-800 number?
Okay, and what's your
And-
next question?
And the third question I had is that do caretakers have available resources through the city?
Okay, so Counselor Durkee makes a request to Department Head for the Health Department, Michelle Feely, the following 3 questions that he just outlined in committee. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. And I'm going to preemptively state for Clerk Wilson, Counselor Durkee, everything needs to be in that request that needs to go forward. She's simply going to shuttle or be the courier of that request, not to add to it. So just make sure it's thorough in your written request to the clerk, copy myself. Okay?
Understood.
Counselor Durkee, do you have any other questions or other resources you wish to bring in on this?
No, that's, I'm sorry. Did I mention, I did not. I would also like to include Mark Johnson, who is the Disability Services Chair, and again, ask for a written response to the same questions that I just asked of the Public Health Director.
Okay. Counselor Durkee makes a request for Mark Johnson, the Disabilities Director, to answer the same questions forwarded to the Health Department in writing for the next committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Counselor Durkee, just to be clear, those are the requests in writing. Are you asking anyone to attend the next committee, or is it your wish to get this back in writing and deliberated on committee and then invite other people in? How do you wish to handle this?
My wish is to get answers in writing.
Okay. Counselor Durkee, do you have any other requests on this resolution?
No, I guess, I don't know if I have to say this or ask this as a question. I would like their advice, if they have any other thoughts or feelings on this issue, that I would be more than welcome to, we should hear what their thoughts and ideas are, and maybe just have an open-ended question. Do I have to specifically write that as a question?
Yes.
Okay. So can I
So really,
add that to the request?
yep. So Counselor Durkee, we'll take one request at a time because we can only have one matter before us at a time. So we'll take the last request that you have. Counselor Durkee wishes to amend the request to Mark Johnson to include a final question for their opinion and advice on how best to address mental illness and isolation in our community. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Counselor Durkee wishes to amend the request to Health Department Head Michelle Feely as a fourth and final question to ask her opinion and advice on how to address and tackle mental health issues in our community. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. Counselor Durkee, anything else on this resolution?
No, Madam Chair.
Counselor, okay, no problem. Counselor Durkee makes a motion to place that matter back on the table. All those in favor say
Madam
aye.
Chair, Councilor McLaughlin, just if I could speak, I'm off committee, but if I could just.
But
bring-
you need to be recognized, Counselor McLaughlin.
I know I had my
So,
hand up.
Madam
I had
Chair,
my hand
I would like to recognize Councilor McLaughlin as an off-committee member to speak.
Yes, So Councilor Durkee makes a motion to hear from off-committee member Councilor McLaughlin. Are there any other people that you've brought in, Councilor Durkee? Anybody else? Is it just Councilor McLaughlin?
I'm
Okay,
not
Councilor-
aware of anyone else.
Okay, Councilor Durkee makes a motion to hear from off-committee member Councilor McLaughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Aye, Councilor McMiniman.
Thank you
Devine,
very
yes,
much.
madam.
Yes, after Councilor McLaughlin, I'd like to be recognized. So you might want to hear from all, make a motion, have Councilor Durkee make a motion to hear from all off-committee members. Thank you.
I saw other people, that's why I brought it up. Thank you, Madam Dean. Councilor Durkee makes a motion to hear from all off-committee members. All those in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it.
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin, thank you. Councilor McLaughlin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to commend Councilor Durkee for bringing this resolution in and inviting me to to sign on to it. Just a suggestion, one of the things that we haven't mentioned is the Council on Aging does some of this work already as far as outreach to individuals who are older, who may be having changes in their life. They may have a roadmap that we can look at and use in expanding this out to the greater population. Just a suggestion, we might want to add that in as a request. That's all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor McLaughlin is an off-committee member and cannot make that request. An on-committee person needs to make that request. Councilor Durkee, are you going to make that request on behalf of Councilor McLaughlin's feedback?
Yes, Madam Chair. I will. I'm more than happy to add, I believe, is it Ann Callahan, who is in charge of the Council on Aging, if I'm not mistaken?
Mary Beth Duffy, but Mary Beth Duffy, but they just had somebody retire who was handling that outreach work. But if you reach out to Mary Beth Duffy, she can give you the name of who that person is, and we could ask for that information.
So
Okay.
Councilor Durkee, I think you should make the request of Mary Beth Duffy and then see what her direction is. It'll be Mary Beth Duffy and anybody she wants to else bring in. So formulate it in that matter, and that way she can bring anybody that she needs. Councilor Durkee.
Okay. Roger, got that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin. Councilor Durkee, do you wish to make that request?
I will make that request. Ask the 4 questions of Mary Beth Duffy, and you said that, I believe you stated that anyone else she would like to bring in on the discussion.
Right.
Okay.
You've heard the sense of request from Councilor Durkee. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Durkee, I was going to recognize the Dean and Vice President, Councilor McMiniman, unless you had something else you wanted to bring forward first.
No, that, please do.
The chair recognizes Councilor McMiniman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? Can you people hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Loud
can.
and clear, loud and clear.
Last week, my volume, my computer was not working. That's good. So I'm going to make several comments here. The first comment I want to make is to applaud the Ward 6 councilor on his introduction of this very important matter to be explored by the City Council and by the Economic and Community Development Committee first. The point being, this month, the month of May, is recognized as National Mental Health Month. And there is a national coalition for the mentally ill. It's the Alliance, I forget exactly what the acronym is for it. However, that's not as important as the matter itself. What I hope this committee is going to do, because when I first got the resolution from Councilor Durkee, there was a resolve that included funding and money, et cetera, et cetera. And I really believe that the approach that's being taken right now. Oh, and by the way, I wish to commend Council McLaughlin because I was going to add the senior Council on Aging on the senior center, and Mary Beth Duffy, who is a registered nurse and who at one time when I was on the Waltham VNA board and the board for the Waltham Hospital, both of those boards I've served on, as well as the Fernald Board of Trustees. Mary Beth Duffy has a great knowledge that goes back 35, 40 years in our city regarding this particular issue, having worked at the Waltham Hospital before she came to us with the Council on Aging. So I'm glad Council McLaughlin mentioned that. But to get back to my original point here, Councilor Durkee brought this in. Several of us have signed on to it. I am hoping that this will be at least an initial stage of exploration. This is an absolutely huge, huge issue. And you've only just even touched on the tip of the iceberg regarding the complications of the issue in the Waltham community. Just a little bit of history, which is usually my style, if I may. May I take that minute, Madam Chair?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. So when I first moved into the city in 1970 and I bought the house I live in now, my house sits between three, at that time, Commonwealth of Massachusetts institutions, the Metropolitan State Hospital, the Fernald Developmental Center, and up the hill, the Middlesex County, at one time it was a sanitarium, and then moved into the area of detoxification, and remained that way for many years until then it became a private entity for national head injuries. It was premier in that field. And then on the other side, the eastern side, is the McLean Hospital, which of course is affiliated with Mass General Hospital and is a privately paid institution. Those four institutions were here in 1970, and only one of them remains, and that's Mass General, the McLean Hospital. The other three institutions are closed. And at one point before Governor Dukakis closed them, he, as the governor, split the Department of Health and Human Services from one entity into two entities, and it became DMR and DMH. DMR became the Department for Mental Retardation, and DMH became the Department for Mental Health. And they each served a very unique population. And it was, I applaud that division that took place because it had the overall population think of those two entities in a very different way. The DMR institution had very specific and almost an overt patient population that could be almost readily identified. However, the DMH entity did not. And mental health issues, Councilor Durkee speaking when he brought the resolution of current issues attributed to good mental health or the lack thereof. But back 50 years ago, those issues were not quite at the forefront that they are now. And so when I came here, the Metropolitan State Hospital was home to, I would say approximately when I moved here, over 500 residents. Now, what did that mean? It was a residential institution. And as you know, think of the population today throughout the city, that many of whom need help and can't get it for a variety of reasons. Well, back in those days, DMH, Met State Hospital, they had a 24/7 residential approach to the issue. And the first thing became you needed to be referred to that institution, and after which, if you were accepted, then you were given a complete profile workup. And if you qualified and became a resident of the Met State, you then had access to 24/7 care, and that included meals, 3 meals a day. It included a safe place to live, a bed, and clean linens, bathing facilities, toilet facilities. It included a resident psychiatrist and a resident psychologist. It included male nurses and female nurses who lived on the campus and had shifts in which they administered to those who needed their help 24/7. It included a chapel, just like the Fernald Center, Developmental Center. It included a recreational facility, a basketball court, some tennis courts, some walking paths. And so it also included a pharmacy. And so all of those, what are now considered to be outpatient needs, they were needs given to the residences at the time. And so as a result of that, there were many people in our city whose families asked that someone in their home structure be evaluated at Met State in order for residential placement. Now, there are some people in the community that feel that that kind of a placement is not warranted anymore. But I'm not sure if that's a bad move or a good move. What I am sure, however, of is this. That's just a little bit of history. And by the way, Waltham, and I've said this since I came here, the city of Waltham has never turned a blind eye to anybody at all in need. That includes the mentally retarded, the mentally ill. We had a hospital. It included the homeless. It included especially the women with families when we had the 5 shelters up at the Fernald Land and Fernald Center that we all helped keep going. So Waltham has never turned a blind eye to any of this, like many of our surrounding communities. And so the fact that Councilor Durkee has brought attention to this issue, I think is a good thing. I think what you're doing right now, he's doing and leading the charge to do some exploratory work on the issue. In other words, you need to throw out the questions in order to get back some answers, in order to formulate some sort of idealistic policy or framework that the city can begin to approach this, realistically approach this problem with. So I think the exploratory work, bringing those people in either in the written word or coming in to answer questions is a very good first start. I applaud the councilors involved and who signed on to this issue. We all know somebody, I'm sure, in our family or in the community who is in need of mental health. And I'm very willing to give whatever expertise I can lend to the issue in whatever way I can. So thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you very much, Council McMenamin, Vice President, and also Dean. We appreciate your testimony and attendance tonight's committee. We have questions from an on-committee member, and then we'll go to off-committee members that still would like to speak. On-committee member, the chair recognizes Councilor LaCava.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this matter, I had to step away for a second. I apologize. So I don't know if I missed this, but I believe a lot of mental health in this city runs through the police department. A lot of phone calls. They answer a lot of the phone calls. And I believe through some grants, they may actually have an officer that kind of works in kind of hand in hand with other departments in the city and handles a lot of this. And I just didn't know if we had reached any of these requests went to the police department for information or knowledge on this matter.
Thank you, Councilor LaCava. Councilor Durkee, have you inquired either in committee or off committee any of these questions to the police department? And if not, would you like to make that request on the suggestion of on-committee Councilor LaCava? Councilor Durkee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did have a conversation with the Community Services Division on another matter, and I had asked about this. So they do have access to an individual on I'm not sure if it's an on-call basis or a full-timer on call, but they do have someone. What I didn't want to do was to say, I don't know offhand, I don't know the busyness of the individual. What I didn't want to do is say, aha, now everyone in the city call, the police department's person. The main idea was to identify, help people find services essentially. So if we did need this individual, then the public health people can get together with the police department. I have no problem in sending the police department a request, but we know the individual exists. I don't know what their capacity to answer questions is. I fully appreciate
Councilor Durkee?
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just in the interest of time, we have another matter. I just want to just try to see, would you be open to asking the same 4 questions? And maybe we say who this person is. Then we get the written responses from the police department that's working collaboratively with the health department. And we kind of begin with what your strong work is, as outlined by Councilor McMiniman and Councilor McLaughlin, getting information. Why don't we seek to understand? Do you have an issue with making that request? And can we just state who the person's name is so that all 3 people have got?
I don't have their name, Madam Chair. So
okay, okay, why don't we take this to the police chief and then be directed from there? So
Madam Chairman, Madam Chairman, sorry, if I can offer, it's John Bailey. It's Officer Bailey. He is part of the Triad operation for
Sure.
Waltham Police. He would be the person you'd forwarded.
Yep. So Councilor Durkee, do you wish to make that request to John Bailey?
I will. I will make that request and ask the same 4 questions to Officer Bailey.
Okay. You've all heard the sense of the request before us. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Durkee, are there any other persons or inquiries you wish to make on this resolution as you seek to understand?
No, I'm all set, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Durkee makes a motion to place that matter back on the table. Thank you, Councilor, for your strong work. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. The clerk will read the next matter.
The next matter is a recommitted matter. A resolution concerning lowering meal tax. And
Councilor Darcy. Councilor Darcy. He's on mute. His coming on.
Sorry. Yes, I had emailed a draft order to all the members of this committee, as well as the clerk and the chairperson. And if the clerk could read that request, or if they want me to read it, I can also read it too, whichever you prefer.
I have it.
Okay.
Ordered that the City Council does hereby rescind the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 64L, Section 2A, Local Meals Excise of 0.75% effective July 1st, 2020.
Right. So, and if I could add, they require a month in advance, so we need at least 4 weeks time to start that process. So the first available time would be July 1st by the time this gets a full vote of the City Council, if it does pass. So, that being the case, sorry.
The resolution was amended for a 3-month time period. Is that something that should be listed in the order as well?
No, because the order then, the city clerk would fill out a form based upon the order that gets sent to the Mass Department of Revenue. We can't conditionally rescind it. We rescind it, and then in 3 months' time, if the council chooses, they can reactivate that. So, so that's the intent. And then as far as as I said, it needed a 4-week window. So the first available time would be July 1st, which coincides with the fiscal year, which is good. So that being the case, I would make a motion to approve the order to send that to the full council for next Tuesday's meeting on the 26th of May.
Councilor Darcy makes a motion to approve the order for the meal tax exemption as stated in committee. All those in favor, say
I'm
aye.
recusing myself from this vote.
Councilor LaCava recuses himself from this vote. The matter is before us. Councilor Darcy makes a motion to approve the order for the meal tax exemption so that can be sent out to the full council for final approval. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
No.
The matter carries. Clerk Wilson, does the matter carry in the voice vote?
The matter does carry, yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Clerk
you,
Wilson.
Madam Chair.
You've approved the order. Thank you, Councilor Darcy. I was really worried about time, so we did have a request, and this being what it is, some of this technology, we can't always know councilors that want to speak. There is an off-committee member that wishes to speak on the mental health resolution. So Councilor Durkee makes a motion to take the mental health resolution off the table. All those in favor say aye.
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 Matter is before us. Councilor Durkee makes a motion to hear from off-committee members. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair recognizes Councilor LeBlanc. Councilor LeBlanc, you have the floor with 9 minutes remaining in the meeting. Thank you for your patience. Councilor
Thank you very
LeBlanc.
much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out, and I thank the councilor from Ward 6 for bringing this forth. As we've gone along and in some of the mental health issues and the gray areas are, people who are having issues with addiction to drugs and alcohol. And I've been to they've had some different forums where you could go and see, and what they had was a bunch of resources there. And I don't know how well it was publicized and if people just didn't come or reach out, but if we could just add in an element, I don't know if Councilor Durkee could make a request for me that possibly when the director of public health comes in, that they could touch base on the different resources and then how we could do a job on outreach, because there was people from McLean Hospital there, another one in Belmont and a couple other areas that had resources available in the city and out of the city for people to seek help for addiction to drugs and alcohol. And it's quite possible it could be on the rise now or have you, but it'll be more of just making the awareness of the availability of resources. So
Councilor LeBlanc,
I appreciate your
I'm
time.
sorry to cut this short, but we're going to be transitioning. So who do you wish to? Can you just state what you're looking for and who you're looking to include so we can put that in the request possibly?
Yes.
Sorry.
Director of Public Health, when they come in, if they could address the resources and how we can do some more outreach for addiction.
You mean the Director of the Health Department, Michelle Healy?
Correct.
Okay. Councilor Durkee, you've heard the suggestion of off-committee member LeBlanc. Do you wish to modify your prior request and just add that additional question?
Can I amend? I'd like to amend the prior question for the, actually, I will ask all 4 people we're going to send out requests for and ask them to add the request that Councilor LeBlanc made.
Can you state that for the record, what that will be in your own words so that we can vote on it?
To ask for an awareness on resources for addiction.
Okay, you've heard a sense of the request from Councilor Durkee to all 3 all committee members will modify all three requests. All those in favor say aye.
Madam Chair, could you repeat the request? Just, I couldn't understand it. Apologize.
Okay, so, no problem. Everybody go on mute. Councilor Durkee, because you broke up halfway through, clearly state what the amended request is going to be, and this will be added to the other prior requests, and we need to give the clerk 3 minutes to get ready for the next meeting, so I want everybody watching the clock. Councilor Durkee, please state your amendment to your request, please.
We will ask for an awareness on resources regarding addiction.
Per the sense of the request, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Durkee makes a motion to lay that matter back on the table. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. What is the wish of the committee?
Madam Chair, I'd like to take the management of COVID crisis resolution off the table dated 4/27.
Councilor Cava makes a motion to take that matter off the table. All those in favor say aye.
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 It's before us,
Thank you,
Councilor Cava.
Madam Chair. I'd just like to say I want to apologize. I made a lot of requests 2 weeks ago and sent to Middlesex Human Services. I was very late getting those over to Clerk Wilson, so they probably have not had a chance to review and respond to those. So that is on me.
Okay.
However, since we have some more time, I actually want to send over 1 or 2 more requests, some questions, along with a request to the police chief based on the safety of our entire community. Based on the last few weeks, I know there have been multiple cases, multiple reports of police activity having to go to the common. One issue from multiple people using the word fillet. Someone was filleted from ear to mouth due to an altercation between 2 people who are using the tented facilities. So to the police chief, I would make a request and ask him to, by the next committee, give a written response to how many altercations the police have had to attend at the common in the scope of what these calls were involved.
Thank you, Councilor Cava. Everyone has heard the sense of that request. The police chief, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Councilor Cava.
Thank you. And then next, I would like to, the Middlesex Human Services ask, I believe in this, let me backtrack before I ask my question, is it was believed that the tent was put together and the numbers were based on the numbers that they had previously held in terms of the homeless in their numbers in Waltham. And they were going to watch that and make sure it wasn't a free-for-all. And with that, there's been reports of an uptick of people coming and attending and using the tent, and there has been a spike in the population. I would like to ask them if their numbers have changed since the tent has gone in. Have we seen new homeless coming from outside Waltham to get services in the city that of people they are not familiar with? So my request would be, how have the numbers changed, and are new people coming from Waltham to use these services?
Councilor Cava makes a request to Middlesex Human Services Agency on top of the other requests from last week to ask for updates on data and displaced persons coming into our city. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Cava.
And lastly, I believe today was the day that they had extended to use these tents. And I would like to know if they're going to continue, what are the new dates, and what is the plan for that going forward?
Is that for Middlesex Human Services Agency?
Yes.
Councilor Cava makes a request to Middlesex Human Services Agency to provide date, timelines, and trajectory of services for the immediate future. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor Cava.
Thank you. I move to lay that matter back on the table.
Councilor Cava moves to lay the matter back on the table on the 10th on the common resolution. All those in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it. What is the wish of the committee with 1 minute left?
Move to adjourn.
Councilor Paz makes a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Community and Economic Development Committee is adjourned at 6:59 PM. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.